Hey everybody, Daniel Ramsey here with My Outdesk, and I'm super excited because today we're going to talk about a topic that we don't typically focus on. It's called building wealth through business and real estate. And I've got a quick story for you. Stick with us through the whole thing. Resistance is going to say, oh, this isn't for me. It's going to say, oh, I don't have time to listen to this whole thing, or, I'm really busy right now. But what I need you to do is just focus and pay attention because we have a pro on the call with us today. And this is what we're talking about. As you build your business, the seven-figure business roadmap is something that we've created because we've gotten an opportunity to see 4,000 real estate businesses just like yours. And over the years, what we've seen is there's commonalities. And the analogy is this. In high school, if you're on a football team in high school, there's a certain workout, there's a certain practice, they run certain plays, they might work out at the gym. They don't focus on nutrition traditionally. They don't have a trainer and a coach. Maybe there's a small team, but then out of the 50 or 75 kids, one or two go on to play college. Okay. And then in college, it's more focused. They have a higher level of discipline. They have a bigger coaching staff, right? And they just work harder. It's a different game. And only a few elite people make that shift from high school sports to college. And then again, there's another shift. And in college, one or two people get to move on to the pros. They go to the NFL. And then there's a staff of 300 or 400 people supporting that team. Huge coaching staff. They have a nutritionalist. They have a trainer, a physical therapy guy. They have a doctor on staff. There's typically an entire hospital that's set up right next to their training camp. They focus every single day. Their lives are 100% tuned in and dialed in to the sport that they're playing. And so if you listen today, we've got Brad Chandler here from Express Home Buyers. Now, he's a pro, meaning the entire point of this conversation today, the entire point is how to build wealth through your business and real estate. So the seven-figure business roadmap is going from an I do it, meaning you're a solo entrepreneur, to a we do it, meaning you've got a small team, to a they do it. And Brad has done that. He has hired a CEO. The team runs independently of him, and he's building cash flow and wealth in that business while also starting another coaching related business. So we are lucky to have him. And what's going to happen today is we're going to get a rare glimpse into how he runs his team, how he decides what to buy and what not to buy. Everything from hiring to building wealth to, managing really smart people and adding value to the team. So we're going to get a rare glimpse into his world. And we're live right now on Facebook. We've got a ton of people watching. So if you have a question for me or Brad as we're going through, just type it. We're going to answer questions. We're going to dive deep. And we've got, like I said, a pro, somebody from the NFL who's here to share with us some of the things that he's learned after a decade in the business and multiple, successes and also failures. I mean, right, Brad? I mean, we've gone through the ring with learning. So here, thank you for joining us, Brad. Stated in, guys, we're giving away. Brad put together actually a really great ebook. I had a chance to read it before today. And we're going to talk about wholesaling, his unique business model to actually generate wealth and run a business in the real estate world. So, Brad, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I love that story, by the way. I've never thought about it that way, comparing business to sports, but you hit that. Right on. High school, college, and fortunately, I've made the right moves. And, I wish I was in the NFL, but I'm NFL-like when it comes to the investor space. So I love talking about this stuff. I think I'm really good at scaling companies and building teams, so I'm excited to jump into it.
Yeah, and that's what we do is we help companies scale with virtual professionals. And Brad is also a client of ours, and I'm excited to have, we'll talk a little bit about how he's used our virtual professionals. And what's unique too is you've been involved in more than 5,000 transactions. Number one, so the volume means obviously you're a pro. And then number two is you just shared with me that you've hired a CEO and 100% left that business to start another business And guys, this is what building wealth is about. This is what it means. And if you're in that game, this is your webinar. This is your talk. You need to listen, because Brad has done what we all aspire to do, which is build a business, walk away from that business, hire a competent CEO, somebody who's smarter than you told me, smarter than you, more experienced than you. And now you're on to doing what you do, which is building another business.
You got it. You got it. And I actually stepped out before I brought the CEO on, because I had a management team in place. The CEO has been brought on to scale on a massive basis, nationwide.
Right. Okay. So let's jump in. And why we thought this was a good segue is most business owners, they're in this rat race. They're in the I or the we. And the problem with the rat race is, even if you get out of it, you're still a rat, right? And so you might identify with this line of thinking if you're always busy, you don't have a chance to go to the gym, you're not spending time with the family, you're not in your community doing contribution. So if you're in that space and you're in the I and the we, let's just go back to sports. If you're a high school player or a college player and you want to go to the NFL, I believe buying real estate and participating in building assets is the way to do it. So, Brad, let's talk about your wholesale business and how it works and what it is. I think everybody on the call will be interested in how you have bought or participated in 5,000 transactions, but not been the real estate broker and not been the buyer. So that's what's unique about this call. So let's talk about that. Tell me, what is wholesaling? How does it work? And what's your unique perspective on doing real estate?
Yeah, so let's roll back to ninth grade. I read a book on how to buy real estate with no money down. At that time, I knew I was going to make real estate my career. So I studied it for 15 years. In 2002, an investor bought my neighbor's house. I went and talked to him, and he said, yes, I buy houses at 20 to 30% below market. I fix them up and I resell them. So I was like, that's what I'm going to start to do. So 8 long months of working a full-time job, coming home nights and weekends, putting my son to bed, handwriting letters from 8 to midnight. I literally, at 11 o'clock at night, I'm out in a black uniform putting "We Buy Houses" signs on the street poles. So bought 6 deals in June and July of 2003. And then here we are. I quit my job in October of 2003, my full-time job, to really focus on express home buyers. And we're nearing 2,400 total transactions. Up until December of 2016, Dan, I fixed and flipped almost every house I bought. And in that time period, I also started Keller Williams team in 2008. And by 2010, we were the #1 Keller Williams team in North America. I think we did $120 million in transactions and about 800 transactions. So I made this shift. I thought that the sophisticated person with the money bought the houses, took them down, rehabbed them. Well, after trying to manage 85 renovations at one time, it got too difficult.
So much. There's a lot to unpack in that. Okay, so first of all, you've had a real estate company and been a real estate professional, and you, in one calendar year, you did 800 transactions.
800 transactions in 2010.
Okay, so that's nuts. What did you learn in that time frame? What was the thing? I want to slow you down because everybody needs to hear your story and understand where you come from.
I learned that my ego caused me to lose a lot of money. And here's why. I wanted to be the first agent team that ever sold 1 billion with a B worth of real estate in a given year. So because of the ego and because I wanted to be, Brad Chandler here is great, he sold $1 billion. That's what I was focused on. Like an idiot, I wasn't focused on the bottom line. So sometimes we were hiring like 3 people a week. It was crazy. We had like 75 people on our staff. We rented this huge office a couple miles away. Just massive. And what I learned is that don't let your ego ruin so many people, both in business and personal. Don't let your ego control. If I were to do it again, I would totally be focused on the bottom line, like crazy focused on the bottom line. I'd lead with revenue. And then guess what? I'd have a better chance to get to the $1 billion if I would have been focused on the bottom line and not the top line. And I guarantee you, most of the listeners I'm not saying the listeners have the ego trying to do $1 billion. Most of the listeners aren't super, super, super focused on their bottom line. You've got to always be focused on, am I making money? And if I'm not making money, let's change something.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. And I'll probably add, when you say bottom line, you mean net profits. And I'll
Yes,
give
sir.
everybody that's listening, there's a model for service-based companies. And whether you're an insurance broker, an investment advisor, or a real estate professional, maybe you're a contractor, it's a third, a third, a third. So a third to get the client, a third to, all the operational costs, and a third is usually the net profit that you want to kind of go. If you're a CPA, if you're an attorney, whatever business you're in, like that's kind of if you're in the we do it space, meaning there's a group of you together and you're doing it, you're looking for a 25 to 30% net profit. Would you agree? I mean, where are you at with that?
We're really damn close to that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point of like, and the other thing that I would say is, you're right. You run a P&L and you're looking at, oh, good, my revenue is growing. Oh, but I'm reinvesting, so my net income isn't going up because I'm reinvesting in my business and I got to hire people. And what this is about is building wealth. So we can talk about balance sheet and why not very many business owners look at a 3 to 5 year balance sheet and say, am I building assets inside my business, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And so I think that's great that you're sharing about the ego. Again, the game that we're playing on this webinar is, how do I build a business where I don't have to be there every day? And then how do I build wealth? And that is represented on your balance sheet. So talk about that. Like, was that the perspective that was missing at that time for you?
Oh God, there was a lot of stuff missing, Daniel, a ton of stuff missing because I was just tunnel vision on, I'm Brad and I'm super smart, which I really wasn't and am not. I'm super smart, so I can do this. So everything was focused on the $1 billion. It was crazy. I wasn't doing anything else but saying, okay, let's just keep building.
And what did it feel like at that time? Like running 75 people, being in a huge office, having all that overhead, and then not having your net income go up over time. And
so I had my home buying business right alongside it. So the two of this, we're running the same thing at the same time. We're getting leads in. We're either buying them or we're listing them. So we were making money. But when we looked at when we separated the business and really looked at the P&L from the home buying and the realty side, all of the money was coming from the home buying side, and the realty side, we were just paying money out constantly because we were like, oh, we're building. So honestly, it was exciting at the time because we had like a new hire, it seemed, every 3 days, and we're doing transactions. 800 transactions. It was great. Checks were coming in. We're looking at our ranking within Keller Williams climb up to the top. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah.
until August of 2010 came along, and the first time home buyer tax credit went away, and we're like, shit, we can't sell anything. Like our whole portfolio probably lost like $3 million because values dropped again when that happened. So we said, okay, we can't focus on the realty side anymore. And then we shifted completely towards the home buying side. And at that point, talk about building wealth, we started buying rentals because we could get them at 30-40% what they had sold for a couple of years ago.
Okay, so great perspective. You started buying real estate because you saw an opportunity. Talk to us and the audience, because I'm like you. I bought real estate. I like real estate. I'm in escrow right now to sell a commercial building. So I like building wealth through business and real estate. Those are the two things. If you look at the world's wealth, everybody is in those two things. They have either a business or they have a lot of real estate. Those are the two vehicles for building wealth. Period. Right? You agree?
Right.
Yeah. So what caused you to decide to buy? And then let's talk about that perspective that you're the professional and you have an opportunity because you can do a little insider trading. So talk about that, right?
Yeah, so we're obviously buying and fixing and selling these houses, and we're looking at them and we're saying, oh my gosh, there may not be a lot of money in the fix and flip because things weren't selling at a premium then. But we could literally, most of the rentals that we bought, we were into them for $95,000 to $100,000, and they were renting for $1,300 to $1,400. And we knew that we were buying them at prices 30. This is a great story. In 2008, We renovated a house in Capitol Heights, Maryland, a suburb of DC.
Yep.
We did our normal renovation, granite countertops, even in bad neighborhoods, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, hardwood floors, really nice house. We sold it for $278,000 in 2008. If we wanted to have rented that for $1,500, a $280,000 house with $1,500 rent, that's a pretty shitty yield, right?
Right.
In 2010, we bought that house back from a bank in the same exact condition because the homeowner kept it nice and put a $5,000 privacy fence in it. We bought that house for, drumroll please, $100,000. The same exact house that we just renovated and sold. So we're like $100,000. We bought it. We rented it for 5-6 years. It went way up, and then we sold it.
Yeah. Oh, we've got a comment from Jim. Thanks. He said, read the book Profit First. I think that's brilliant.
Jim, why couldn't you have told me that in 2008 and 2009, for God's sakes?
Yeah. Where were you? Okay. So what are you doing? What are you doing today? Because obviously we can see the evolution, real estate, broker to fix and flip to now wholesaling. So, and I'm moving quick because we're going to spend time on that business because that's where you're like an expert. That's how you've built a big business that now you can step out of. So talk a little bit about that transition from agent to investor to wholesaler.
Yeah. So in December 2016, I'm talking with my partner and we're like, payroll is going to be tight to make this month. This is incredible. We flipped 2,000 houses, and we're having trouble with payroll. Like, what's wrong? And it was renovation. And I'm connected with most of the top investors around the country. When I talk with them, what's your number one problem? Well, it's renovation, scaling. So I thought, what are we good at? We're really a sales and marketing company. We're so good at finding and following up on leads. If we could get rid of renovations, man, would our lives be easy. So we were like, we are going to start wholesaling everything. So we literally looked at our 80 renovations. We started selling some of our renovated properties in the middle of the renovation. We're like, let's get rid of it. We finished a bunch of them. Now we strictly are wholesaling everything. So we get a property under contract for somewhere between 65 and 75% of the after repair value minus renovation. And then we're selling it anywhere between 78 and 83% of after repair value minus renovations. And we are just solely focused on growing that business into a nationwide business.
Okay, well, you said something. I just got an opportunity to travel, and I was in the room with a billionaire, and his advice was to narrow the focus. Too many people try to do this broad, I'm going to be everything. I'm going to be a contractor. I'm going to be an investor. I'm going to be a landlord. I'm going to be a flip, like they have this, and you guys did that. How did you get to that space where you said, you know what, we're a sales and marketing and we know how to find the properties? What caused that mind shift for you? And like, how did you come to that realization? Because there's a lot of people on this call that they need to narrow that focus. That, I think, is the thing that made you an NFL superstar.
That is huge. And when I see that, when I look back at the mistakes I made, 95% of them were lack of focus. I can do this well, so I'm going to go do this and I'm going to do this. And it was crazy. What led me to that, Daniel, was, I guess, the cash flow issue. It was like, we can't keep doing this. This is crazy. So it was just, it was conflict that happened, and we're like, we're going to fix this, and we fixed it. And we had our best year financially ever last year.
So it was a pain point. You had a major pain point.
Major pain. So your listeners, before you get to that major pain, it's, just like you said, the billionaire, well, it was a book written 75 years ago, Think and Grow Rich. It's all about putting your blinders on and having tunnel vision. Don't let those shiny objects that run by, just let them run by. Focus on what you're really good at and get really good at one thing.
Right. Okay. So you've alluded to it. So you had a tunnel focus on being a sales and marketing organization. What happened for your team, your people, your marketing, talk about the effect in the team when you released a big portion of what you guys weren't great at?
Well, the chaos just left. I mean, we had so much chaos. When you're renovating properties, when you actually buy a house, you got to switch the utilities. I mean, the list goes on and on. You got to pay property tax. You got to pay your lender if you didn't pay cash. on and on and on, all these complexities. And then you got to, the water didn't get cut on. So you got to switch bills and just so much complexity just left us. And honestly, a lot of employees left us because we had like 10 employees on the construction side gone. So
right.
We just got way, way more focused.
And that focus,
chaos.
The chaos went away.
Went away. Yep.
And the team now, like when because before you were focused on the $1 billion in real estate, then you had a major pain point. And if you're listening, we've got an opportunity to ask Brad questions around that journey. So if you can relate to his story and you can remember a time when you've had a pain or a lack of focus or a challenge with payroll. I mean, if you're a business person, I know I had to dump a ton of money into my Outdesk at one time to make payroll. And then through that pain, we shifted our model. And it's only through that pain that you, as a business owner, you decide to change. So I identify with your story. So if you identify with the story and you have your own personal situation that you want to talk about, Brad is here to answer questions, and we like the interaction. It makes this better, especially if you identify. But Brad, what?
And I put money in, by the way, I put money in, and around that time, that pain point, I put money in, and I'm like, I'm done putting money into it. All I want to do is take money out.
And now that's another NFL, you're a pro kind of mindset thing. I know I put money in thinking, well, this is my business. Nobody else will. This is the burden of leadership. This is the burden of taking the risk. But if you've played in the NFL, business needs to add money to your bank account and not
take away, not your personal bank account. Right.
That is correct. That is okay. Good. So you switched to this wholesale. Let's talk about some of the systems and processes, because everybody on this thing is like, okay, Brad, tell me the detail. Like, give me your secret sauce. And that's what this is about, is how do you generate, opportunities for your team to possibly buy, and what are some of the things that on your team you help realize, because you coach people how to do this. So let's pick one or two of, you think, the best opportunities that somebody could listen to this, take away, and then implement right away.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So we'll start with, one of my employees recently bought a house from us in Southern Maryland. Him and his wife fixed it up, put like $15,000 into it, and they're under contract to sell it for a $40,000 profit. So if you guys are working with investors and you have teams of people who want to invest in real estate, then teach them how to do it, because, what I see from students around the country, and not only students, but the top investors from around the country, the number one struggle, Daniel, is people. So if you can solve the people problem, why am I able to get on a plane and go to Jamaica if I want to for 6 months and come back and my business would be in better shape when I left it? It's not because of me. It's because of the people that I have. And businesses don't focus on that. And I've been a realtor and I know how it goes, how busy you are every day. You're like, let's just hire this person. I just need him. He may not be the right fit. She may not be let's just get him in. And that is the holy grail of disastrous mistakes. Like, you've got to focus on your people. So give your people what they want, find good people, make sure that they fit your core values, train them well, give them what they want, and then they'll give you what you want from them. Okay. Part of that is teaching them how to invest, teaching them how to, make $40,000 on a property.
But let's slow down, because people are listening, and I want you to, let's talk about how you hunt talent. Like, what do you do that's unique? Because again, I recognize it because we're in a similar size kind of business. And I recognize that finding people and getting them on your team and keeping them focused and helping them achieve their dreams and goals, I know that's the right way to be. Like, I know that it matters. So talk about hunting talent.
Yeah. I got a great, great mindset shift or behavioral shift in the last 2 years. And that is, I heard it for years, but you don't want to hire people who are unemployed. And when you put a posting on a job board, it's typically people are looking at that job on those job boards that are unemployed, right? Why are they unemployed? Does highly talented people, you keep using the NFL analogy, how many highly talented NFL players are sitting at home right now playing video games? Well, they are because it's the off season, but you get my point. So what you do is you got to go find people who are not on the bench but are in throwing the passes. Where do you find those people? The number one tool in the world is LinkedIn. So we got a LinkedIn recruiter account with LinkedIn. They do an amazing training job. They do an amazing webinar or training webinar if you want to just get information on it. You go and you find the people through either LinkedIn, and probably LinkedIn is your second best. Your number one is your network. It's your sphere of influence. Get on the phone with every single person and say, this is the opportunity, and make it sound good. This is the opportunity. Do you know anyone? And I'm looking for this type of person with this set of skills. Do you know anyone?
Or who do you know?
Stop posting the jobs on Indeed, stop posting the ads on Craigslist and Monster, and go out there and actively find people. Again, and people are thinking, I don't have time for that. You can't not have time for that. If you want to get to the place that I am, if you want to get to the place that you deserve to be, and that is have your business work for you, if you overlook people, you will never, ever, ever get there.
I feel your passion around this. That means you've had pain in it. Do you have a story around hiring the wrong person? And
do I have a story? I mean, I've probably hired 200 people. And when you hear the analogy, when I sat down at a recruiting class 10 years ago and they say, when you make a hiring mistake, it's 10x their salary. I'm like, this is just puffery. $40,000 guy is really going to cost me $400,000. Hell yeah, he'll cost you $400,000 and it'll cost you more. So I've got story after story. And when you fire somebody, you find out all the other crap that you didn't even know about that's even worse. And here's the thing about firing people. A lot of people don't want to fire people because, they've been loyal, Daniel. This person's been with me for 4 years. I know they're not the right fit, and I can't fire them now because I need them, and Christmas is coming or New Year's is coming or whatever's coming. So in 6 months, Daniel, I'll get around to firing them. And you think that you're helping that person? You are literally taking 6 months out of their life. You're robbing 6 months of their life because they should be moving on to an opportunity that they can actually thrive in. And
right.
When I had that mindset shift about 5 years ago, when I'm ready to fire someone, they're out of here because if they're not a fit here and you keep them, you're doing them a huge disservice. So get rid of them.
Yep. Okay, good. So hunt people, be fanatical about your core values and matching people to that. And as a real estate person, some of the challenges that we have is like, well, why would they work for me? How do you, why do they want to help me become wealthy? Like, how do you get somebody when you're in the we do it space? Like most of the folks, 90%, it's actually exactly 89% of all real estate people are in the we do it space. And it's a very limited people that make it ever to the NFL pros, like they do it. How do you get somebody to stay with you and stick with you? And because you and I know that leverage and turnover, if you're trying to scale a business, turnover is the evil that stops you from doing it. We know that's pro tip right there. That's what causes failure. So how do you get somebody connected? You mentioned helping them buy a property and make an investment. Like what are some of your tax and tools for doing that?
Yeah, the single best tool is you sit down with them the day that they're hired or soon thereafter, probably after a week after you build some rapport with them, and you ask them, what is important in your business career in the next 5 years? And it's a whole exercise that you do. It's something that I coach my students to do. It's a whole exercise you do, but basically you're literally finding out what's really important to them. And then you literally say, Daniel, I'm going to help you. If this is important in your life, if being someone who's in the spotlight is important in your life, I'm going to help you get there. I want you to help me do this, this, and this. That's the single most important thing. And that's something that people often overlook is these are people we're dealing with. These aren't robots. They come to work and people say, separate work and business, personal and business. And that's just crap. It can't happen. So what is it? What makes this person tick? Find out what that is and then help them get it. And then they're going to stay around for a long time. If you treat them well and you do what you say you're going to do, and you have actual company vision and a place that you're going to get them excited to want to be part of that vision.
Okay, good. So help them get their, accomplish their dreams, and they'll help you accomplish yours. I mean, it's the Zig Ziglar model, left and right. Okay, good. So let's talk about building wealth now. because we've just nailed people. That's the vehicle from getting to the I, to the we, to the they. That's your vehicle. It's always been the vehicle. The sooner you focus on that, the more success you're going to have. But next steps, like what do you think is missing after you've solved the people problem?
So specifically with your listeners who are mostly realtors, a lot of realtors obviously deal with investors. And why should the investor be making the money and not you? So that's a great way to build wealth. We can make, our average wholesale fee last year was $37,000. I'm not smart enough to do the math in my head, but for an agent to get a $37,000 commission, it's got to be a huge sales price.
Right.
So learn the investment side of the business, whether you want to wholesale, whether you want to fix and flip, or whether you want to buy and hold. Look, you're in this space every day. And do you know how few realtors are actually investing? It's crazy. Talk about building wealth. Just like the insider trading thing that you talk about, like we know the market data. We know what a house is going to sell for. We should, as a realtor, know what renovations are going to cost. So why aren't you participating when instead of making a $3,000 commission, you can make a $40,000 fee or a $100,000 fee buying a house, fixing it up and reselling it or wholesaling it?
So what's the mindset that allowed you to make that jump? Because that was you moved from being a real estate guy into an investor, and most of our listeners are that haven't made the jump yet. There's something that's holding them back. There's something that stops them from doing it. Let's talk about how you overcame that, or what is that, you think?
So for me, I started as an investor, went to a realtor, and went back to investor. So I never had to overcome anything, but I know what it is for agents because I'm married to one and I've been around them all my life, for a majority of my life. It's just lack of knowledge. They're like, I don't understand that part of the business. I know how to get a listing. I know how to drive a buyer around, but literally 80% of the stuff you do as an agent translates to being an investor. It's all right there. So it's just a mindset shift that someone has to make that says, hey, I'm paying for multiple listing service. I'm paying for my license. I've got an office. I've got a car. I've got a cell phone. I've got all this stuff. Well, if you can repurpose it or use it to make more money, why not? Because your investing can also get you more realtor clients, can get you, you got a house and you put a tenant in there. Well, maybe the tenant one day is going to want to buy when they move out. There's a client. So they feed each other.
Well, and what I like about what we're talking about in the wholesaling world is you don't have to qualify for a mortgage. You don't have to have a down payment. You don't have to have a contractor that knows how to renovate. You don't have to deal with the city to get permits or not get permits. You don't have to worry about getting a tenant or property management or, breaking. You just have, it's not a huge jump to go from a real estate, guy or gal and then wholesale. So let's nail that. And I think the mindset is we just don't know how. We just don't know what's next or what it looks like. So from the expert, I don't know of anybody who does more wholesale deals in the country. Certainly not anybody who has our virtual professionals and also has built a business right alongside next to us. So talk to us about how do you find the properties? How do you negotiate the properties? What are some of the rookie moves that, the high schoolers would make that you want us college players to do or the pros to do? Let's talk about it. Let's break it.
Well, so first of all, without ever doing anything else, as a realtor, you're bound to have calls from people who have a house that they're a hoarder house. They've got foundation issues. There's mold issues. The person's been a smoker. And I know too many agents that walk into a house and say, that's not for me. I'm going to call a real estate investor because this house can't sell in the open market. Right there, you should go to the seller, and say, would you like a cash offer on this house immediately? I can give you a cash offer today. So you would look at the after repair value of the house, which again, you're going to know, you're a realtor. You're going to look at the repair estimates. How much is it going to cost to get it up to that standards?
Wait. I've got a point. Maybe, so what if I don't know? What if I'm not an experienced investor? And because you and I are, so we do know. But if you're listening to this and you've never done it and there's an opportunity there, what do you do if you don't know the path?
So I've developed a spreadsheet that I'm actually working on right now to make it even better, that literally line by line, how many windows, you punch in the windows, how many feet of paint, punch it in there. And it literally will give you a total that's going to be close enough, because here's the beautiful thing. When you're not buying this and using your own money or bank money, if you're off a little bit on the renovations, even if you're off $5,000 or $10,000, it's not your problem. It's the buyer's problem. I mean, it's up to them to figure out the renovation numbers. So very simply, just come up with a, and I'm happy at the end of the call to give this to callers. We actually have you text a pair to a certain number. So that's up to you. I know we didn't talk about that, so I'll leave that up to you if you want to do that at the end or not.
No, I think we all the value we can give. So let's break that down. So after repair value, you get a number.
Yep, you get a number, and then you figure out the what's it's going to cost to renovate the house, and then I can tell you, in most hot markets, and most markets in the United States right now are hot, right? Most hot markets, people are willing to pay 80 to 85% of that after repair value minus renovations. So then you, as the agent / investor, have to decide how much money do you want to make on the deal. You can offer 70%, you can offer 75%. You can also go and say, I teach my students this all the time. Don't throw out the number. Ask the seller what they want. If the seller says, I will take X amount of dollars for it, and it works, and you say, that's great, I can have this off your hands in a week from now. No buyers are going to be traipsing through your house. You don't have to get, if you're a hoarder, you don't have to get, truckloads over here, and make them the offer. Now, you're going to have some realtors say, well, you got a fiduciary relationship and you should tell them the higher price. Well, you know what? CarMax exists for a reason. CarMax does not pay the most money for your car. If you want to sell your car for I got houses in my head, obviously. You're going to take your car to get detailed, right? You're going to spend $300 or $400 because you're going to get the engine detailed too. You're going to get that thing amazingly looking, and then you're going to put it on all the sites, and you're going to take all the phone calls, and then you're going to have to drive the people around, and you don't know who they are. So it's a nightmare. I've sold cars at CarMax. You drive there, you walk, you give them the keys, and a couple hours later, it should be less than that, you're walking away with a check. So that's what you're doing. You're making it that easy for the home seller. And some of these houses, it is hard to sell in the open market because there's some really crazy stuff that happens out there. So that's how you do it.
Well, and because I love doing this, and I'm like you, a good friend of mine, just stopped paying his mortgage once. And he just stopped paying his mortgage. And this was during like 2005. So prices were just climbing. And he bought a new car, got into credit card debt, decided he wanted a vacation. And then 6 months goes by and he says, yeah, dude, I'm losing my house. I'm like, what? How is that possible? Prices are appreciating. And he, like you just said, the CarMax, he's like, I don't like it here anymore. I want out of this neighborhood, and I want to go away. And I said, well, what would you like to go? I like the house. I knew that there was some renovations that had to be done, and I knew that it was going to take me 3 months to 6 months to finish them, because he, besides not paying the mortgage, he had done no deferred maintenance, and he'd let the place, because he knew he was leaving, so he didn't care. Right. And so his number to me was, I need $5,000. And I said, okay, so I'll take the mortgage over. You'll get $5,000. And I'm going to, because he was a friend, at the close, I gave him another $5,000. So he got twice the dollars that he wanted. And I gave him some walk-in money right away. We kept the house in his name. I just paid the mortgage down. We had a contract.
You bought it subject to.
Yeah, exactly. And what was beautiful about it, I renovated it, closed it and this is a crazy time because it was 2005. It was Christmas time. So I said to myself, I'm going to enjoy Christmas. I'm going to wait until after the new year to start the renovations, because prices in California were just like climbing. So it didn't matter. Right. And he had given me 6 months, and I was like, I was good. Right. So no stress, no whatever. I renovated that place and made like $50,000-$60,000. He made twice what he wanted. And he was thanking me after the transaction, like hugs and tears, and because I enabled him to go to his next. Right. And so I think there's just too many opportunities out there that we just don't jump on as real estate people. But had I not asked him, well, what do you want? Like you're saying, right? That's what sparked it in me. I remember that story.
Right.
And I was like, what do you want? You know? And dude, you would never see a happier guy to sign a closing statement in the world. He signs it, hugs me, gets his 5,000 and like
yeah. So you had your investor hat on, and investors often get a really bad rap, but we have thousands of happy clients that, could they have made more money? Yeah. But every car seller, CarMax could have made more money, but we made their life so easy. And some of these, we've helped hundreds of people from foreclosure where they would have lost everything. So not a lot of people understand subject to, so I'm going to spend 10 seconds on subject to. Subject to is literally when you buy a house, but you keep the existing mortgage in place. A lot of people say you assume it. No, you don't assume it. You never call the lender. As long as you're paying the lender will never, ever, ever, ever call that note due. So you buy the house, you keep their mortgage in place. That way you don't have to go to a bank or your cash to go and buy the house. You use the existing mortgage in place, and that's called subject to the existing financing.
Yeah.
The title still transfers.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. So with one of our clients who's in Oregon, we co-developed for our virtual professionals to help them identify all the reasons people want to sell. And we came up with this list called the 9 Ds, right? And then we created some scripts around them. And so I'm teaching you guys right now on this call how to have a virtual professional help in the process. And Brad, you're going to add so much more value than I can, because I just kind of like helped at a high level. But we called it the 9 Ds, like death, divorce, debt, damage, disability, drugs, displacement, double debt, and desperate to sell because they need money. And this is like another pro tip that people miss in the prospecting world, is creating who that client is, what their pain point is, how you can help them solve that pain point, and what's your opportunity value proposition to them, right? And so I wanted to hear your take on that, and how you guys do that, so that everybody on the call today could get a little bit of understanding.
So you hit, I can't even expand on that list because you hit everything. So great job there. So you asked me earlier in the conversation, how do you find these people? So you can start by going after people with high equity that have owned their houses for more than 20 years, because those are the people that are going to have the equity. As investors, you need to have equity to buy. So there, right off the bat. Then if you want to go in divorce, probate, well, right now there's list providers, data providers all over the country. There's hundreds of them that will give you death, tax delinquents, everyone on your list. You can go identify those people now. You can go even into Facebook marketing and start to identify some of those people. So, but speaking about their pain and stuff, when someone calls to get their lawn cut, they have an internal need and an external need. The external need is they need their lawn cut, but they don't call you because they need a lawn cut. They call you because of their internal need or pain, and that internal pain is the HOA is going to find them, or they're having dinner guests over and they're going to be embarrassed, or their neighbor is like giving them grief. That's why they call. So you, as both marketers and salespeople, have to speak to the internal pain. And too many people, including myself up until 5 years ago, spoke of the external. I'm Brad. This is what I can help you. They don't care about you. They care about how are you going to solve their pain. So focus in on that pain and how you can solve it, just like you said.
Yeah, it's perfect. Okay, so when you call somebody, like walk us through real quick what your ideal, because look, everybody on this call is like, okay, I want to make some extra cash. I know there's an opportunity here, and maybe I'll siphon off some of these properties and maybe own them, because the challenge in any small business, whether you're an insurance guy, a real estate guy, or a contractor, is that it's a good vehicle for revenue, meaning income. But as you build the business, it's typically not an asset building thing. You're not building wealth inside that business until you get to the they do it space, until you can step out and it still runs on its own. So buying real estate is that other way that we suggest all of our clients can build assets as well as build income in parallel. So what do you do on the call? Like, because this is where you're like a badass. What do you do on the call that people can learn from in this call?
You're trying to get to know as quick as you can. And that's, you build rapport, and then you figure out, is there motivation and is there equity? And if there's not, don't try to make a deal of it. That's when you might want to put on your realtor hat and say, hey, yes, we can sell your house for this price. But initially, you got to figure out, do they have pain? Do they have motivation? And can you help them with their pain?
Okay. And what are some of the common like objections that like people always throw at you? Like, so you want me to sell my house for less? Like that, isn't that one that you handle all the time?
Yeah, it's price, and but we buy a lot of houses. Only 8% of people make buying decisions based on price, and people probably think it's 98%. It's not always about the price. A lot of our objections are about price, and you just have to you got to build rapport, and you got to get these people to like you. I mean that is a real trick, and if you do that, then you're going to be very, very successful. So yeah. I think price is probably the number one thing, because there's nothing else. We make it so easy. They don't have to do anything. Like, we handle everything.
Yeah. You know, it's funny is I think of it like we're guys. So you go and you meet a gal and you're like, hi, my name is Daniel. How are you? And they go, get out of my face or go away. That's like the typical rejection that men have. And I think in our business, the real estate wholesale world, like what you're talking about, the typical go away response is price, right? I mean, that's going to be, you've got to be able to handle that objection very good, but then dig deeper and to find out those pain points and what they really need in order to rock and roll out of that situation, right?
You got it. Yep.
Okay. So the last couple of things, I want to talk about the formula for a long-term hold. Like, how, if I've never owned real estate or only have a couple, prices are really high right now everywhere. Inventory is really low everywhere. What are some of how do I know that I should buy and hold this versus wholesale it? Like, what do you believe the formula is and the right way to make that analysis?
So we aren't actively looking for buy and holds in our business because, again, we've got our blinders on now. We're trying to become a national company in the wholesaling space. Right. When we did, and my wife and I are actively buying rentals. When we look at a rental, it's the old 1% rule. And I actually like to get closer to 1.5%. So if the house is going to be worth $100,000, 1% would be the monthly rent would have to be $1,000, preferably $1,500. If you get to 1.5%, you're doing really good. If you get to 2%, you're knocking the cover off of the ball. So, and you want to buy real estate in better areas. The better areas that you can buy in, the better. Now, prices are getting to be out of whack. So there's not a ton of places in the country that you can get the 1 or the 1.5% rule. Are there still plenty of places? Yeah, there's still plenty of places, but it's shrinking. So when that market correction happens, really be focused on, buying when we go through that next dip. Last time we went through the dip, we bought 80. We wish we would have bought 800. This time we're thinking, if that ever happens again, we're going to be prepared to buy 8,000. Right. We'll take a smaller portion. We'll own maybe 10%, but we're going to go to some big money source and say, hey, we know how to get our hands on 8,000 of these. Do you want in?
Right. So that's a cool story. Okay. The 1% rule, if it's worth $100,000, you're looking for $1,000 to $1,500 a month in rent.
You got it. Yep.
And then if you add leverage onto it, meaning you take out a 75 or 80% like loan and you only put 10 or 20,000 into it, now you're really getting a good cash on cash return. It's probably in the 25, 30% range. Is that right?
Yeah. No. Cash on cash perhaps, but this is where the yields of single family houses are actually a lot less than a lot of these gurus want to make it out to be, because managing a one house or 50 when they're spread out gets to be really expensive. Yeah. So most of the yields that you see are going to be sub 10%.
Okay. Good to know. Okay. That's great. So we talked about we, they, it's like high school football, college football, and then the NFLs, right? And I want to talk a little bit about your virtual professionals because that's what we do. That's how we help people scale businesses rapidly, right? So how do you use your virtual professionals in your wholesale business that maybe somebody on this call could implement and see a return on investment for them?
So we have had them do so many stuff over the years, your people specifically. When we were buying and renovating houses, we had one full-time person. All they did was turn on and off utilities.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? One person, their
Yeah.
whole day. That's what I'm saying. That's what sucks about renovations. We've recently had them nurturing and doing cold calling, and now we are going to be shifting them all to cold calling. So not all of them, because we got two of them that are working on searching and optimization that are doing a lot of marketing tactics, but
Yep.
the rest of them are going to switch to cold calling. But they can do anything. I mean, these people most of them are educated, college educated. Some of them have advanced degrees, like they're smart people.
Yeah.
We've got one or two guys that have been with us now for 2 or 3, 4 years, and we've jokingly said if we could bring him here to America, we would bring him here because he's that good.
Yeah. And he's added so much value to your business.
Yes.
And when you first started, like, what was the surprise for you? Like, what caused you to say, holy moly, my Outdesk virtual professionals, I can scale a business, like mine using this service, and I didn't know that before. What were like the ahas in that?
It was the cost of what it's costing us compared to what we were getting in return, the value that they were providing, and that wow, they can really do almost anything.
Yeah, and so it was really a value to cost kind of. It was a business decision, return on investment.
Yeah, I've got a buddy in the business who lives in a small town in Maryland, and he wholesaled. I don't know if it went to closing, but he called me a couple of weeks ago and he goes, Brad, I just got a property under contract in Portland. I go, how much are you going to make? He makes $30,000. I was about to give him grief. I go, Mike, what are you doing dealing with a property in Portland? He's like, Brad, I didn't do anything. My virtual assistant did everything. Found the buyer, found the seller, negotiated. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I love that. And we've got a client in Northern Virginia who just signed on to Mod Plus, which is our new expanded kind of program where we provide not only the virtual professional, but also the technology. So, we have a dialer, we do Land Voice and LionDesk CRM. So if you're on the call and you're like, okay, Brad, we kind of want a little bit of this action. We hired that person, and they're in your kind of neck of the world. They hired that person last week, and the week prior, we got their system set up, and I just got a message. She set 24 appointments in her first week. Like, who on this call doesn't want 24 appointments in 1 week?
Let me tell you a similar story. One of my star students in Richmond joined my program. He tried to mail on his own in December. He's like, what the hell did I do? Thousands of dollars down the drain. He's like, was my phone broken? He signed up with me January 12th. For 10 straight weeks, he got a deal. And we're talking about probably $10,000 to $15,000 average profit deal. He then calls me in a panic 10, 12 weeks later and said, Brad, he goes, the direct mail's not working. What am I going to do? I'm having cash flow issues. He hires one of your VAs. He sets 8 appointments in the first week. He closed 8 deals in May, his biggest month ever. And he's like, Brad, I need to hire more people. I can't keep up.
I love that story. Well, okay, good. We're about to wrap up. We've gotten a couple questions around your coaching. So one thing that's very clear, in your real estate practice, you saw us as a vehicle to scale your business. You've hired a CEO, stepped out, and now you're building a coaching practice. So let's talk about like why somebody, if they feel like they're uncomfortable just listening to this, they're uncomfortable with maybe trying to do it on their own. Why would they come to you, and what would they get if they did?
They get a playbook that's video training that literally walks you step by step how to do every phase of this business. I left no stone unturned. I give contracts, I give assignment agreements, I give marketing. I even have, here's how you pull the list. Here's how you go through ListSource. Here's how you get a discount. I've got an agreement with a provider. Instead of spending 18 cents a record on ListSource or 15 cents, it's 3.5 cents. So we give you all of that with weekly group coaching calls, access to me through Voxer. We have a closed forum. So literally, when people go through the program, they're like, this is so detailed. It's amazing. This is just what I needed. Because
you've scaled, and when you're going to I, we, and they, at the they do it, one of the things you have to do is you have to have a scalable model. You have to have your financials, a clear understanding of who your clients are. You have to have an operating system, meaning your people need to know what they're doing. So you've just taken how you've won in your original business, and said, okay, now I'm selling that system and process out there so others can do what we've done.
You got it. Yep.
I love it. Okay, great.
And I help all levels of investors, because I started out 15 years ago with a negative $80,000 net worth and a $200 a month marketing budget. And last year we did millions of dollars in wholesale fees. So I can take the new investor and teach them, or I can teach the experienced investor how to scale.
Cool. Below this, we've got a link where you can actually get Brad's ebook, schedule a strategy call with us. We'll walk you through the seven-figure business roadmap. And again, we've broken down this into 6 different stages, and we'll identify where you are today and where you'd like to go. If you're interested in talking to Brad and his team, we will make the introduction, and and he's going to give a lot of value for free. We've got that spreadsheet that we'll throw in there. And what's beautiful about this process is number one, we don't charge for this. So we're not going to charge you to have the first call. We're not going to charge you to help you create your own business roadmap to go from 0 to $1 million in net. That's the path. That's what being an NFL pro is all about. That's why we want to help people. One of our core values is just simply a servant's heart. So we want to serve the real estate community. That's why we're doing this webinar. That's why we're sharing Brad's. It's nice to see what another guy has done and how they're performing in the NFL. So if you wanted that information, you can click in the link below. You can also text 555-888, that number, and just put mod and then your name and text it, and we'll send you all of this information right on your phone. You can schedule a consultation, you can get this ebook. And Brad, what do you want to leave these guys with? Like, what's your one thing that you want them to consider as they step away? Thanks for staying to the end, everybody. This has been fun, by the way, for me. I love doing these interviews. But what's the one thing you want to leave people with today?
So you got to give me 2. Can I have 2?
Yeah. Yes.
One is focus on your people, because again, without your people, without having really good people, there is 0 chance you're ever going to get into the NFL.
Right.
And number 2, don't be scared about the investment business. Whether you go with me or someone else, it's not that much different from what you're doing today, but you guys are leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table every year, where you could be using that to build wealth or go, on vacation with your family or do whatever. So people, and learn the investment side of the business if you're going to be a realtor.
Yeah, good. Okay, so of course now questions drop off because they're like, okay, we want to ask. So the ebook is in the link below, right there on Facebook. So jump on there. We've got a link with Brad's ebook. You can also schedule a consultation with him or us in that space. Jim asks again, do we use programs like Carrot for lead follow-up? So we've had 4,000 clients. We're 10 years old. We created the market of outsourcing in the real estate space. We've used every single system out there. Our VPs know how to build business. And if you want to partner and growing and scaling your business, give us a strategy call. You risk just time, really. And if you love what we say, then great. And if you hate what we say, we'll part friends, and hopefully we've added value to your practice. Brad, as always, this has been fun. Thanks for your time today. And guys,
Daniel, there's one other thing that I could give away, and I don't know if you want me to do it. It's a case study where if people are like, I still don't get the wholesaling thing, I have a 90-minute video where I walk through the entire process of how I made $33,750 on a townhouse in Chantilly, Virginia. Is that something you want me to tell the URL, or do you want to put it down below?
Yeah, we're going to, Mark, if you're not on Facebook, what I want you to do is go to myoutdesk.com and just schedule a strategy call. This is another question from Mark Cooper. Just go on our website, schedule a strategy call, tell us about your business, where you're at and what you need, and we'll give you every single thing that you need in order to grow. Brad, the more you want to give away, dude, I'm all about.
If you go to bradchandler.com/case study and watch it, you're going to be blown away, and you're going to be like, maybe I should stop being a realtor and be a full-time wholesaler.
Or both. All right, guys. Thanks again, Brad. Thanks for your time. Everybody who's watched this and stuck with it, you won. You got to see an NFL pro out there performing. People and focusing on the bottom line wealth. Those are the two things that Brad wanted to share with us. And thanks again for your time today.
Thank you. Take care, guys.